recognize him, if not by his charming good looks, then by his name. Mr. John Echohawk joins us right now. He is the executive director still of the Native American Rights Fund, of course, based in Boulder, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I always get to see you this time of year here at NCAI, and there's our pretty picture that's going out on the World Wide Web. But John, I know you're always working hard on some case, some aspect of the law. NARF is one of the true warrior organizations, and you're the leader of that in many ways. So if we've got a forum here for you, tell us a little bit about what issues you guys are really pushing forward at this time.
Well, it's good to be with you again. It's always good to have an opportunity to talk about the law and Native Americans, because there's too many people who don't really understand that. But essentially what it comes down to is our people have a lot of rights, but they haven't always been recognized and enforced, and that's what we've been trying to take care of at the Native American Rights Fund for the last 45 years. It's organized as the National Indian Legal Defense Fund, and as a nonprofit we raise money, hired lawyers, made them available to our people who really didn't have any lawyers, and started bringing our rights to the courts and starting enforcing them. It really made all the difference here in the last 44 years.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's been that long?
And that work continues. This is my 45th year at the NCAI annual convention. We've always participated in the discussion about the legal issues. I've been chair of the litigation committee here at the NCAI for many, many years, and we always want to make sure that these issues are brought to the forefront and discussed thoroughly by tribal leaders here at this meeting, so they're aware of what's happening in the courts and the status of our rights. And we're doing that again at this meeting here in Atlanta.
And I guess just more on a organizational level, and it seems to go in cycles. Sometimes it's the environmental issues, sometimes it's economic development issues, but they seem to all tie into the fact that Native rights still aren't on the mainstream radar. But have you seen a lot of progress? But are we going backwards or forward at this point in time?
Well, in the grand scheme of things, I think we're going backward, because when we first organized and helped to lead this litigation revolution in Indian country, we had a majority of the Supreme Court justices who were open to these arguments and to learn about them and hear what we had to say in our legal briefs and the cases brought before them. And the tribes won most of those cases that started into the Supreme Court in great numbers, starting in the 70s, into the 80s and beyond. But beginning in the 90s, we started to see a clear change as the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court changed, and there were more conservative justices on the court. Tribes started finding out that it was more difficult to win cases before a different Supreme Court as the makeup of the court changed. And it got to the point where in 2001, the tribes lost several cases that term of the court that we should have won under the existing Indian law that we knew it, the way we understood it. We should have won those cases, but we saw the court interpreting the law differently against us and not going with the established precedents, and that alarmed everybody. Tribal leaders declared a national crisis in Indian country, called a meeting. What are we going to do about the Supreme Court? It's come that far. And so, based on their deliberations, they created the Tribal Supreme Court Project, and that project is staffed by us and the National Congress of American Indians, and we monitor all these cases that are headed up to the court to make sure that we address them as best we can, and for the most part, the advice is do not go there because this court does not respect established precedents, and so it's a very delicate, changed situation.
But those who might be fighting tribes in a case, they know that too.
They know
And
it too.
so if they lose, they're going to just appeal and appeal and appeal until they can try to get to the Supreme Court.
They know that too, and we dodged a bullet here. The tribes together just in the last term of the court, because that's exactly what several of the states did in the Bay Mills Chippewa case, challenging an established sovereign right. All sovereigns are immune from suit without their consent, tribal immunity from suit. And that was the core issue in that case. And several of these states came on and frankly just asked the court, throw this law out and change the law. And we escaped 5-4 in a narrow vote. There were 4 justices who were ready to throw that principle out the window. And as sovereigns, we would have no sovereign immunity from suit.
Who was one of the more conservative judges? Did Roberts take our side on that one? Supreme Court Justice Roberts?
The only way we won is Chief Justice Roberts voted for us
Chief Justice.
for the first time in 11 Indian law cases he's heard as Chief Justice. He voted for us. We got his vote, and we were all very surprised, very pleased.
You're right.
Very
Pleasantly
surprised.
surprised, yeah. Okay, let me ask you another question. I know that you're busy, but how has gaming and casinos and really the perception that Indians are now, they have the resources they need. They don't need government programs, and we can get rid of some of these so-called subsidies and welfare programs. How has that changed as far as our legal rights and the treaty obligations, the trust obligations of the federal government? Have you seen a change because of this perception that Indians have gaming and they don't need our say anymore?
Yeah, that's part of this lack of information that the general public has about our people. Seems like if people generally know anything about Indians or think they do, they think that we all have casinos, we're all millionaires. Of course, that's far from the truth. There's only a handful of tribes that really do well with casinos. Other tribes are involved in them. And only about half of us are, half the tribes are, and the other ones, they do okay, but they're not millionaires or anything. But some people just think that's the situation, so we all have to take every opportunity we can to educate, the public about that, and that includes the judges. And we were really pleased in this Bay Mills case that we just talked about a few minutes ago, that one of the Supreme Court justices who understands our situation well, Justice Sotomayor, wrote a concurring opinion where she went through this and talked about the situation of gaming and how, it's not really true that we all have casinos, we're all millionaires. Half of us do, and out of half of the tribes that do that, only a handful do really well.
Yeah, that's true.
And she went out of her way to educate the court and educate the public about our situation.
Let me just mention one thing. We're at the National Congress of American Indians. You're watching the Native Media Network, and our guest right now is Mr. John Echohawk of the Pawnee tribe, right? Pawnee and Pawnee. But he's the executive director of the Native Americans Rights Fund, and we get a chance to see each other about once a year here at NCAI. But I'm always reading the different work that the Native American Rights Fund is doing. And I guess I heard earlier this morning in the General Assembly, Kevin Washburn was talking a little bit about this, I guess, new era that President Obama was trying to usher in as far as the government-to-government relationship. And in some areas you see, well, in a lot of areas within the government, I've noticed some progress. But considering where we were coming from, we still have a long ways to go. But would you agree that as far as the government-to-government relationships, a lot of the federal agencies that deal with Native American tribes and even individuals, like, of course, interior, but also justice. It seems like maybe education. It seems like some of these departments have really, even if they may not know exactly how to do it, but they're really reaching out to tribes. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. The Obama administration, I think, has been one of the best administrations in history as far as recognition of tribal sovereignty goes. And I think that's an opinion shared by many tribal leaders. In the grand scheme of things, dealing with the U.S. government, dealing with the executive branch, the administration's just part of the battle. That's one of the ways we can get some things done. And it's really good that they're there for us, because we talked about how difficult it is now in the judiciary, in the judicial branch, to really make progress there. The Supreme Court's waiting at the end of the line, and so we all have to be really cautious trying to get some things done through litigation. And then the Congress, we're impacted just like everybody else by that gridlock up there, and they never seem to get anything done. But even then, once in a great while, we get a few things through the Congress. But generally speaking, I think the administration, the executive branch, has been where tribes have made the most progress here in the last 6 years.
Okay. John, I think, you know what? I think I did see you. I don't know if you, were you at the Pawnee Powwow this summer?
Didn't make it this
Didn't
summer.
make it. Okay. I thought I saw you there. My eyes are getting, that is good. I was up in the stands and I said, I think that's John out there. But anyway, it's good to see you, John.
Good to see you.
Okay, we'll talk later. Okay, I appreciate your time.
Sure.
And again, we are